I've been invited to talk about my experiences of starting my own law firm and see if I can give any practical tips and encouragement to the people out there who are thinking about doing this themselves. So, to begin with, I qualified into commercial litigation in 2003, and I never really fit into traditional private practice. I refused to do certain things, and I was actually marched out of one law firm by the elbow because I refused to double bill a client. That really happened, and I'm proud of it now. But I am outspoken and don't really tolerate mediocre people managing me very well. I have my own way of doing things, and that's just how I want to do it. And I'm a shocking employee. So that kind of made me very miserable. So I came out on a career break, had 2 children, and got into fee sharing. I suppose I learned something about independence then. But really, I needed a monthly check. I went back to private practice. I reasonably quickly remembered why I didn't want to be there. I went in-house as in-house counsel for a period after that, and with the owner being offshore and treating his UK companies a bit like hobbies, when he was phoenixing one company into another, I was pregnant with my 3rd child, suffering from hyperemesis. I had a week off for the medication to kick in. He found out I was pregnant and my new contract never turned up. So that was the last push that I needed to come out of being employed, full stop. Now, at that point, I was the sole provider in my family. My husband was a house husband. I very, very quickly had no job. I swallowed my pride. I freelanced for the boss who did that to me for a month. I then sacked him as a client. Smile from here to here. It was one of the best meetings I've ever been in. And it was down to me after that. So there was no partner, no husband with an income giving me and the children a cushion. This was all down to me. That was massively stressful. I'm not going to lie about it, but I decided to do everything in as opposite a way to law firms as possible, knowing how resoundingly unpopular we are as a profession. I decided to try and counter that in my own legal consultancy. So everything on fixed fees, flexible, very commercial, and just doing things the way I had always wanted to do them. As the size of the clients grew and their needs changed, it became obvious that we really needed to be offering reserved activities, essentially around property. So by that point, I had a PA. I'd started Rebecca 2 weeks before I had my baby in August. On the Monday, I was out here. I met the senior partner of a firm of accountants who still works with us. And on the Wednesday, I was having Freddie. Less than 2 weeks later, I was working again, because what the hell else are you going to do? So all the networking that I had done up to that point was paying dividends after that. So anyway, fast forward a bit to March. We've got Sebastian doing our HR and employment by that point. And I decided on Tiger. It came out of the picture, which is a mother with her cub and just feeling aggressively protective. Now, one of the first things that you'll be struggling with when you're thinking about starting your firm is your name. Is it Smith and Partners, Smith Law? What is it? So I spoke to people about using the name Tiger, and it was pretty positive. I have to say, I felt a bit silly at the beginning, but I just went with it. The main issue I found was the PI insurance, and even that wasn't too much of an issue. It's much more rigorous an application than the SRA application, and you have to have it in hand and do it first before you go near the SRA. So those are the first inquiries that you need to make. And they will want to see a business plan. Well, what was my business plan? That. We're not talking about war and peace here. We're talking about something that gets you through the PI insurance application. You do all of this way before you start thinking about spending thousands of pounds on branding and websites and cards, and that's all the nice frilly stuff, which you won't get to use if you don't get your PI and your authorization. So be methodical. I've blogged about the planning pit as well. You can paralyze yourself planning all of this down to the last minute detail. What are you actually doing? You're procrastinating. You're not jumping off. You're not taking that risk. You're not going for it. Stop planning. Stop being risk averse. That's a characteristic that seems to be inherent in our profession. Stop believing people who told you wouldn't do it. When I was a trainee back in 2001, I remember being stood in my training principal's office. He looked me up and down and he told me, "You will never make a solicitor." Well, look at me now, Mr. Pigott. So go for it. Don't let anyone else, from girls in society actually, through to women in our profession, the message tends to be the same. Discard that. Believe that you can do it. You can. You know what? It's just paperwork. It's just paperwork. And that's what you do all day, every day, right? So, PI insurance, have a look at the proposal forms. Have a look at the requirements that the SRA will ask you for. Get your ducks in a row. It's not rocket science. You can do it. You do it for clients all day, every day. Don't be paralysed by too much planning. Just don't. And start thinking about the kind of clients you want to work with, the kind of work you want to do. Will you be able to start with the following? If not, what are the kinds of things that you need to do to raise your profile? And you're going to need to do this anyway, but get out there. Get speaking to people, have a few greasy breakfasts if you have to, and tell the people who are your allies that this is what you're planning to do, and just create the support before you take the leap. Now, I spoke to someone earlier today and it's very apparent to me that it's different when you're waiting around to make that choice yourself, as opposed to being pushed off a cliff edge like I was. Best thing that ever happened to me. But I would say go for it. Forget the branding and the pretty stuff. Forget the endless planning. Have a look at the concrete steps you need to take and just do it. And I'll be very happy to speak to anyone who wants to. And you are capable of it. Of course you are. You went to university, you went to law school, you went through your training contract, you've worked with clients. You bite your lip when you're told what to do and how to do it. Just imagine never having to do that again, and deciding what to do with the fees that you make. Right, I think that's it.